have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
Make sure to listen to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Good enough for us down here in the bayou. Go Tigers and the Armchair Quarterbacks.
It's morning.
Yes, and what a lovely morning. Good morning.
Good morning. We've talked the whole night through.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In the beginning, we were all fish, okay? Swimming around in the water. And then one day, a couple fish had a retard baby. And then this monkey fish frog had butt sex with that monkey. And that monkey had a mutant retard baby that screwed another monkey. And that made you. So there you go. You're the retarded offspring of 5 monkeys having butt sex with a fish squirrel. Congratulations.
Armchair.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Big Ben Roethlisberger is officially back with the Pittsburgh Steelers for the 2021 NFL season, the team announced on Thursday. The Steelers did not disclose the terms, but a source has leaked that Roethlisberger willingly reduced his pay to $14 million from $19 million in his final year of his contract and spread the cash payments through 2022. The move lowers the team's salary cap hit by more than $15 million. Roethlisberger, who turned 39 earlier this week, threw 33 touchdowns, 10 interceptions last season, his first after major elbow surgery following a season-ending injury in Week 2 of 2019. Villanova guard Colin Gillespie has suffered a torn MCL in his left knee and is expected to miss the rest of the men's basketball season, they announced on Thursday. Gillespie left Wednesday's game against Creighton with 6 minutes left in the first half after landing awkwardly and immediately grabbing his left leg. An MRI on Thursday confirmed the MCL tear. Atlanta Braves pitcher Max Fried won't make his first scheduled start of spring training because of a potential exposure to someone with COVID-19. Braves manager Brian Snitker said Thursday that Fried hasn't tested positive for the virus, but the team is taking no chances. The left-hander had been scheduled to start Friday against the Minnesota Twins. Quote, "We're laying him low for a couple of days," Snitker said. Fried was a 17-game winner in 2019, went 7-0 with a 2.25 ERA last season, and finished 5th in the NL Cy Young balloting. MLB.com reported that Boston has agreed with free agent infield outfielder Danny Santana on a minor league deal that includes an invite to spring training. It remains to be seen when Santana will be ready for action, as he underwent a right UCL repair and augmentation with an internal brace back on September 9th. Santana signed a 1-year, $1.75 million deal plus incentives. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for more of the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show and YouTube Live. Please like, subscribe, and share our show today. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk, live from the First Coast. Good morning. It's time to wake up, y'all. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Show. We're here weekdays on CBS Radio, YouTube Live, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. The Armchair Quarterback Show, your first choice for Southern sports talk. Good morning, Mr. Justin Waller.
Good morning. I don't know much, but I know one thing. This isn't the Florida-Tennessee matchup I was hoping to limp into this weekend. What a difference 2 months will make.
Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and I don't know much, but I know one thing. We've got Football Friday. We've got March Madness, and we'll even get into some Major League Baseball. Tony's back for the first time in a month as he has been vacationing in Dubai. We will be back in just a flash here on the Armchair Quarterback Radio Show. Keep it locked in to CBS Sports Radio, and you can find us on YouTube Live.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have in my hand a copy of tonight's top 10 list, the category, top 10 things I would have called my truck.
It was never your truck.
If Ted hadn't been a jerk and given it back.
It was a rental.
Number 10, the Winnebago. Number 9, the pickup truck. Number 8, the Ford Explorer. Number 7, the U-Scream truck. U-Scream. Number 6, Feels on Wheels. Hello. Number 5, the Ride Her truck. Number 4, the 18 Squealer. Number 3, the Escalade. Number 2, the Slamboni. And the number 1 thing I would have called my truck if Ted hadn't been a jerk and given it back, the 69 Chevy.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man.
Hey, howdy, hi, top of the morning to you. Welcome to the Armchair Quarterback Radio Show. I'm Mac McGee, sitting alongside Justin Waller. We've got Tony Aguilini today. Tony, how the hell are you, sir?
I'm good, man. Good to be back. Hope you guys are well.
Justin, how the hell are you? Justin, you've muted yourself. More things change, the more they stay the same.
I'm blaming Tony.
Are you getting that nervous because the big Florida Tennessee showdown tomorrow? That game has big implications. Both teams, I think they're both securely into the tournament. But if the team that loses tomorrow were to get bounced out in the first round, they would be hanging on by a thread and probably get a terrible seeding. Tony, what say you?
Yeah, I agree. I think Sunday's game is big for not necessarily for the SEC tournament, because I think Florida's pretty locked into the 4 seed unless we beat Tennessee and Missouri beats LSU. Then you can get to the 3 seed. But honestly, the biggest thing is trying not to play, those first 2 days and get the 2-round bye. I think Tennessee with a win, I think they can get that first round bye. And sit out. But yeah, it's like Justin said, man, it's such a far reach from like those late 90s Florida Tennessee games and obviously the mid 2000s too. But it's a game that Florida really needs to have. I'm with you, Mac. You lose to Missouri Wednesday, which every time this team wins 2 or 3 games in a row, we step on our toes and lose to whoever we're playing in game 3 or 4. Lose to Missouri Wednesday night, and all of a sudden you really want to split these 2 games. But yeah, you lose 3 and you're either, barely out or you're going to get like an 11 seed headed to the NCAA tournament.
Justin, how do you see Sunday's game? Pardon me for saying Saturday. I knew it was Sunday because I remember when I saw it, I was like, that is weird that they're playing on Sunday and not Saturday. Normally all your major conferences, except for the Big Ten, play on Saturday.
Yeah,
Justin,
weird.
What say you about this coming weekend's matchup?
Well, I mean, I think they're both going to make it into the tournament. It's not a big ordeal there, but it's momentum headed into it. For Tennessee, they've got to find a way to find leadership out of their upperclassmen. I mean, Pons and Fulkerson cannot just be non-existent on the court. They've got to step up and lead this team. I mean, right now you've got your freshmen, Springer and Johnson, that are leading the way and are really the maturity that are on that court. And that's not going to bode well for a deep run into a tournament. I mean, that's a good way to one and done and get sent home. So hopefully they can find some way, maybe the Florida and they can dig up some bad blood or something to get them motivated for their last time and try and take charge of this team before a tournament run. But I think that's more optimistic, wishful thinking. I think this team probably is going to get sent packing in both tournaments early.
We had some big games last night. Did y'all get a chance to catch any college basketball last night?
I did not. We caught the premiere of Coming to America 2 last night.
Was it worth a damn?
It was. It's not the first one, obviously, but it was It was good in the fact that it had enough like kind of funny lines and stuff to get you going, and also enough like random cameos, especially from the first movie. But they also had some other. It was a little bit like a. I don't know if you saw the Sharknado movies where they had all these celebrities do like quick cameos, but there was some stuff like that in there. Some good flashbacks to the old, to the original one, and also you guys will appreciate this. Middle Tennessee State actually gets a shout out in the movie. So I'll text that to you guys. I don't want to spoil the thing, but it's not a big deal. But it was kind of cool to see Middle Tennessee State in that movie.
That is pretty cool. I thought about this the other day when I saw one of the ads out, because the original one has it was kind of like the original barbershop movie, right? Where he's dressed up in all the different old men in the barbershop. I thought to myself, man, nowadays I think it would be more challenging to try to make him look young, because Eddie Murphy is old at this point. But anyways, you give it a thumbs up?
Yeah, we liked it. It was worth what we paid for it, which is free with our Amazon deal. So we got our money's worth.
Oh, it's streaming on Amazon?
Right.
Oh, I thought you had to go to the theater to watch that. Okay.
No. We did too. But yeah, it's on. It might be coming out in the theater as well. But yeah, it's streaming on Amazon.
Well, I know what we're doing Sunday, because I damn sure ain't watching the NBA All-Star game. Justin, did you get a chance to watch anything in the games last night?
Yeah, I watched Michigan State, and I wish I would have watched Coming to America too. I mean, Michigan State forgot to show up, and Michigan just spanked them like the little brother they are right now.
That's going to be interesting to see how that affects Michigan State, who's hanging on by a thread. They've got them as the last four in. The last one that I saw, I'm sure they'll update it, and I'll probably have the last four. And I'm looking at it right now, and I don't think I realize they're 8-11. And I talked about this yesterday at the end of the show, and I want to get more into this, but they do this every year in college basketball. It's even worse this year because of the fact that you don't have conference or out of conference games crossing over early in the season. But don't you feel like every year the media decides what conference they think is the best, and then they try to jam 12 teams from that conference in? Sometimes it's the SEC, sometimes it's the ACC, a lot of times it's the Big Ten, and I just don't think that's fair when you're talking about having that many teams from one conference come in. And conversely, I know this is a Florida State fan speaking, but Florida State is currently leading the ACC. Now, they may lose tomorrow and not win the conference, but if they win, they are the ACC champion. Is there any way on God's green earth that Duke or North Carolina could be at the top of the ACC with a 15-4 overall record and not be on the 2 line at least in the NCAA tournament? Instead, they've got Florida State sitting on the 4 line on Lenardi's latest projection. Tony, I'll start with you. Those two topics have just been burning me.
It does kind of feel like this year they're kind of force feeding the Big Ten. I mean, I think Michigan's really good, and obviously they've got some other really good teams in there. But yeah, it's disappointing year for Michigan State, and they're a team that is kind of famous for plodding through a regular season and then getting to a Sweet 16, Elite 8, and sometimes even a Final Four in those like struggling years. I think FSU, especially if they win tomorrow and win a few games next weekend, I think they're a 2 or 3, probably a 3 at worst. But yeah, it's crunch time for all these teams. But I'm with you. I think the SEC doesn't belong in any kind of conversation for jamming a bunch of teams in. I don't think, but they are. It does seem like they're trying to do that with the Big Ten this year.
Justin, what say you?
Oh, they're definitely force feeding that. But the Duke Carolina comparison to Florida State, all I gotta say is maybe it's them COVID rest breaks y'all were taking. Carolina Duke would have played a full schedule. So throwing out there.
Get the hell out of here, man.
Expect for Duke, but the Heels would have.
I mean, come on. You're 15-4. You're top of what is considered usually the best basketball conference in America, but because Duke and North Carolina are having bad years, they're like, well, I don't know if this isn't like a flash in the pan either. This is the second year in a row that Florida State will most likely win the ACC.
I get what you're saying. They're not penalizing Alabama.
I'm just saying that they should at least be on the 2 line. And for them to, because it is a smaller sample size, but they won't let us go out there and play all COVID-y. So, it is what it is, but it's not like they've only played 7 games. They've played 19 games, and we're sitting here at 15-4. It just baffles me. They also have, and as far as the power rankings go, they should be ranked higher, but they also have wins against Florida and Indiana. It's not just ACC wins. So I just, that whole thing just chaps my ass, because when I look at it and I see it, I think to myself, this is just bias, and it's the same kind of junk that people would complain about if, let's say next year, the ACC does, let's say Clemson falls off the stage, right? They have a terrible year, whatever, injuries or whatever. And a team like, we'll just random one, Boston College rolls through undefeated, getting to the ACC title game. The perception will be, well, they don't deserve to be in the playoffs, and they'll get pushed over. And this happens with a lot of conferences and a lot of teams. If you're what they call blue blood of that sport, then no one thinks twice about it. But if you are a surprise team, for instance, had Tennessee had the kind of year that Alabama would have, they'd be in the same thing. I think Alabama deserves a 1 seed. Why the hell are we getting the way they're talking, every team from the Big Ten is going to be a 1 seed at this point. I just don't understand why they do. Why don't you take it each season face value and not worry about what that colored jersey did in the past? It's who's playing on the court this year. Same thing on the football field. It's who's playing that year, that particular year. And rant. Tony, what say you?
Yeah, it's almost similar to like the years that like TCU happens to win the Big 12 in football. They're not Texas or Oklahoma, so they're headed to the Fiesta Bowl or something like that instead of the playoffs.
Or Northwestern wins the Big Ten, and they're like, I don't know about this team.
Yeah, exactly.
but if you beat these other schools that you claim are very good every year, it's not like Duke and North Carolina are lacking in talent this year, by the way.
Right.
Their coaching staff did a bad job and has not put it together. It's just all there is to it. You can't blame it all on COVID, because realistically, COVID gives you a chance to reset a little bit. And all the teams, even North Carolina, had COVID restrictions and shutdowns. That's why they had to sign up for Marquette. And whoops, that almost happened to. Who was that last night that almost got beat? Crap. It was a Kansas. Did you see that? Kansas almost lost to UTEP. UTEP went into Kansas, and they led that game until about 3 or 4 minutes left in the game. UTEP, by the way, is 12-11 and 2-9 in their respective conference. But anyways, moving on from that, Justin, you found a pretty interesting article, and I think it could shape the way college basketball is, or especially college basketball recruiting is done in the near future. Lay it on us.
Well, it's Overtime Elite, and it looks like they're starting up, and we're just getting numbers coming out. It looks like it's going to be a September of 2021 this fall, where they invite the top 18 to 30 high school prospects that are done as an alternative to college, and they're talking about paying these kids 6-figure salaries, medical, dental. I mean, just like an employment package. And an alternative to college. And what I also like in it, as you read through the article, it shows them options where they have paid tuition for college should they elect to go back, that their future is still secure, because it's always been the knock, get your degree, that's going to carry you through. So I think they've smartly set this up where this might actually grow into, it's not going to be immediate, but could be a contender for the NCAA and for a lot of youngsters that just don't feel like going through the headache or just don't have the financial whereabout to go struggle a year in college and meet the requirements to move on.
Tony, does this concern you long-term in the college recruiting stage?
Well, if it screws Kentucky, I'm all for it. So that's a good thing. I think that if it happens to catch on, I think the first thing the NBA is going to do is get rid of the requirement to go to college, and it almost seems like they're inching to trying to either do it that way or make the kids stay for 2 or 3 years, kind of like college baseball. But I think they'll go to letting high school seniors get drafted again before they'll do the latter. It's a little concerning. I mean, we at Florida, we don't recruit a whole bunch of 5-stars or guys that would we try to. We don't get them to sign. We don't get a lot of those kids coming to Gainesville anyway. So I think for like Florida's program, I don't think it affects too much. But yeah, I mean, are these kids willing to give up the TV exposure and all that stuff by not going and playing college basketball to go play in this league? And we've been through this in football where they start these leagues and they either crap out before they even get going, or they make it through like 4 or 5 weeks and declare bankruptcy, and you find out some guy's running a hedge fund and he gets thrown in federal prison and this, that, and the other. So these leagues, I'll kind of believe it when I see it. I saw the investors behind it, and it makes sense. A lot of the guys on that list were kind of one and done guys in college anyway. So I could see why maybe they'd want it.
And I didn't go through those. It was they're including Kevin Durant, Carmelo Anthony, Baron Davis, Victor Oladipo, and one of Silicon Valley guys, Horowitz, big tech offering there, kind of put it together and facilitate it. But my question to y'all is, okay, so if this happens and it's successful, is NCAA going to allow this to come in and just saturate their product? They already have a problem. I mean, let's look at LSU. Let's look at Tennessee and football. We don't think that these things are already happening on the NCAA things. You don't think? I mean, look at Penny Hardaway and the things he went through with his players and recruiting down there in Memphis. I mean, it's already happening. If this is successful, don't you think it's just going to ramp it up more and make it even more of a crap show on the NCAA side? How do they allow it to just come in and happen?
Well, okay, my first question is, it appears that they're going to televise this by just putting it on social media platforms. So is the actual business going to be viable? Meaning, did they say how many kids that they were planning on paying this $100,000 to? Or I didn't see a number, I don't believe. I kind of skimmed over the article, but I don't believe I saw a number. But let's say
up to 30 players is what they're saying in this first go around in September.
Okay, so 30 players. That we're talking about $3 million, right? Which I know on the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money. Easy for them to say, but $3 million, and they're going to put it on social media platforms. So they're going to have to get $3 million at least of commercials. My other question is this. Now, Justin, you're saying this was start in September, right?
Correct.
Who the hell's going to watch that in September when I'm watching college football? And if you try to put it on one of my major,
well, I think that's when they're opening the school. They're going to have all these kids live on campus, train. I don't know when their season. I don't know if that's actually going to be like day one of season. I think that's
right.
When said venture.
Okay, but let's say they play in October. Okay, my point is, who the hell's watching that? Now, I guess maybe they could put it on really weird nights and they put it on social media. Now, I personally am not going to watch it because I don't give two craps about what some kid who's 17, 18-year-old is doing against another 17 or 18-year-old that isn't going to March Madness.
Right. It's not representing anything. Like they're
right.
They're on like the Iowa City, Zambonis or something. And
you got as much chance of me watching that as you do me watching that. What is that thing that Ice Cube put together? 3-on-3.
Big three, I think, or something.
Big three, yeah. Big three. You got as much chance of me watching that as the big three. I knew it existed, didn't really give a crap about it watching it. I remember during the COVID shutdown, they were talking about firing it up, and by the time they got their act together, everyone else had started theirs, so it got lost in the mix. I might have watched it a little bit then just to have some kind of live competition going on. But normally, I'm like, unless you're going to put that on like a Tuesday afternoon when everyone's bored at work and you put it on in your cubicles, I don't know who the hell's going to watch that.
I don't know that they need. I mean, they will need viewership. Another stupid take of mine, but honestly, the teams can finance it themselves at that cost. I mean, for a $3 million split amongst your teams in the NBA, you have your own scouting department that you can actually meet and talk and facilitate with players. NBA, I mean, the NBA could just bankroll this and it'd be a drop in the bucket. Yeah,
the NBA would love to only lose $3 million on a league because The WNBA is hemorrhaging the NBA at this point. By the way, it started back up again. The WNBA players are talking about that they and other female athletes want to be paid as much as a male athlete because they deserve it. Not because anyone's watching their damn product, but because they just deserve it. But yeah, if they get the NBA to fund it, sure. But at that point,
I think the accessibility to some of these young prospects will allow that.
Right.
Well, the NBA's already, we got the D League already with NBA and basically Gatorade, I think, funding that. So, I mean, you can go, can't you go straight from high school to D League? And, you know, you don't have to go to college for a year to go to D League, I don't think.
I think the G League is set up where they are going. They set up something about a year ago where they would put, it was only a few kids in the G League that were like of high school age.
Right.
And because the NBA is trying not to step all over the toes of the NCAA because they want to work in conjunction. I think the easy answer to this entire damn thing would be to get rid of the one and done restriction. Now, I don't know if we'll ever get to the point where we do it like college baseball, where it's 3 and 3 or go straight to the pros. But I would like to see college basketball move it to 2 years. If you could give us 2 years of a kid wearing your jersey, you could then get fans more wrapped into a kid coming to, you name the school, as opposed to one and dones. And also the NBA would have a chance to watch this kid develop for those 2 years. And not, some of these kids come out and they'll shut it down after a few months if their team's not doing very well. And the NBA realistically has seen nothing. And they're taking a wild guess. They're going off the fact that he's 18 and it looks like he can dribble the ball. And like, you know what, we ought to waste a second round pick on this guy.
Yeah.
So I think it would help out the NBA as much too, because you get too many of these kids coming from college to the NBA. And yeah, they get their nice little payday, but it's like Justin said, they'll burn through that and they get affected because they never get developed. And then the NBA has a bunch of talent that never gets developed. And you still continue with the same thing that I see every single year in the NBA, where the draft is essentially 5 or 6 guys get picked and they'll have big contributions and the rest are just junk at the end of your bench. You don't get excited about the NBA draft because of that as well. And that didn't used to be the case like 23 years.
Yeah, Florida's got a guy that's a great example of that. Really, it's Scottie Lewis, and coming out of high school, you know, McDonald's All-American. I don't know if he would have been a lottery pick, but he would have been a first-round pick if they allowed it. And you know, he comes to Florida and he's had maybe a total of like 5 like really good games in the course of 2 years. And I almost think if he doesn't go pro after this year, which I don't think he will, like a change of scenery might be good for him. But yeah, he's a typical guy that, you know, the NBA would have taken if he didn't have to come to college. Probably either as a, you know, like a 9 or 10 pick or something like that, maybe a little bit lower. But, you know, as far as Florida being at Florida, I'm not impressed at all with him. And he's a guy that in the NBA would have probably washed out after 3 or 5 years. And then, you know, what do you do after that?
Justin, what say you?
My only qualm is I don't like extending the college requirement. I mean, what about the kids that just can't go that second year? I mean, they're already struggling to go once. They got to make a decision, get a job and help family. I mean, I wish they would just lift it and let the kids have their choice. I mean, you're either going to sink or swim when you're a young man coming out of high school, going in college, and you're playing with grown men in the NBA. I mean, you either have the talent to do it or you don't, and you find out real quick.
Yeah, I'm with Justin, I think.
Right, but if you're going to be able to go. But if you're going to stay, it should be like college baseball or college football where, okay, they're saying 3 years. I think basketball.
You're saying do both. You would like them to lift the rule to where you could go straight to the NBA, but if you stay, have 2 years. Okay.
Yeah, it's 2.
And I'm cool with that.
Because I think because we set the bar at 1 year, asking to go to 3 years is going to be a little ridiculous. It would make college basketball so much better. but that's just not where we're at. So I could live with 2 years. I'll give you an example. Scotty Barnes coming off the bench for Florida State. They're projecting him as a lottery pick. To be honest with you, I don't think he's ready. I don't think he's polished enough. I think he's got incredible talent, and at one day he could be a great basketball player. But he's very, very raw at this point. I see him do things all the time on the court that I think to myself, man, that kid's going to be special if someone works with him. But you get in the NBA, you can get lost in the mix. And they don't have a special coach just for you, even if you are a lottery pick. So they're going to try to develop you as they can. He would be better off staying an extra year, but because the money's there, I can't hate on him for wanting to go. Go do your thing, guy. But I'm telling you right now, he gets drafted by like Sacramento or whatever. He's gonna be a trivia question in 6 years. Whatever happened to Scotty Barnes? And you're gonna be Googling and oh hell. He got in trouble because he got caught hanging out with the Seattle Mariners CEO, right? So it's just going to be. I just see too many of these kids go down the tubes, and I would like to see them stay at least 2 years. Also, the other thing, if you stay that second year, maybe you get interested in something that you're actually taking in college. Actually being an actual student, and maybe you don't stay because of that. But you come back and you do your thing after that, right? During the off season, you continue to further your education. Tony, I know you got to run, sir. What is your walk off for the day?
Well, you mentioned Barnes. I think the perfect comparison for Barnes is Bradley Beal. I think Barnes is his college career is a lot similar to Beal's, where he really didn't get going until kind of the postseason, but you knew he had it in him. And then when he went to the NBA, it took 2 or 3 years for him to kind of settle in, but I think the future is really bright for Barnes. But you're right. It all comes down to timing and who picks you and all that kind of stuff. Walk-off, I love to talk golf. It's back in Florida. They're in Bradenton last week at Concession, which was a fun watch. They're at Bay Hill. Your guy Jordan Spieth is playing in Bay Hill for the first time, which is pretty cool. I kind of wish he would have played when Arnold Palmer was still alive. But anyway, but yeah, that'll be a fun tournament. Rory's at the top of the leaderboard after day one. A lot of great guys playing in that, and of course the players coming up this week. So our next week should be 2 fun weeks of golf, and really just happy to be back with you guys. I'm trying to shake the rust off, but it's fun.
I like your new background that you got back there. You got all those little gator guys and everything.
Yeah, we moved from the kitchen to the office, and I like it better than whatever drapes we had behind us. So. Add a little spirit to your Friday, because I know you want to look at it for a half hour every Friday.
That gator helmet that you have there, is that plastic? It almost looks ceramic.
That was like a lamp probably 100 years ago, and we took the top off of it a long time ago. That thing's probably from the 80s or so. But but yeah,
the last time Florida was relevant.
It was full of cash when we got the lamp. So
I bet it was.
It was a lot of that Charlie Pell money.
I was about to say
that's your recruitment gift.
Yeah, exactly. It came in. Usually they come in McDonald's bags. Now they come in stuffed helmet lamps. So times have changed.
Was that Wilbur Marshall's helmet?
It might have been. It might have been Wayne Peace and Wilbur Marshall. But I enjoyed it. We'll catch up next week, and we'll be that much closer to getting brackets.
Conference tournaments by next week.
That's right. Exactly. So.
All right, brother. We'll see you then. Great job.
All right, take care.
Yes, sir. Justin and I are going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's Football Friday, so we're going to talk about the 3 quarterbacks that are still out there that they're talking about could be traded, and we're going to do National League East predictions. We'll be back in a flash here on the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Now, does anybody in here have a valid reason for leaving this classroom? Timothy.
I got to go pick up my daughter.
You're excused.
You get a whole lot of something with Farmers Policy Perks. So much, I'm going to have to speed things up. You can get the Farmers Signal app, and that could get you up to 15% off your auto policy. That's just for using the app and driving like the normal speed limit, hearing, full stop, making lane change, signaling human being you are. Get a whole lot of something with Farmers Policy Perks. Start with a quote by calling 1-800-FARMERS.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
The Armchair Quarterback Show. Weekdays. Coast to coast, Southern Sports Talk Radio. Your first choice for sports talk, live from the First Coast.
The more
isn't just a hairdo. It is definitely a lifestyle. You're carrying on like a legacy, like your last name, you know? The people that did this in the 80s, they weren't doing it just because, oh, they thought it was a cool hairdo. No, they were doing it because they were badass. You know, if someone asks if you want extra mayonnaise, you have to say yes. This is bringing back like the Paul Bunyan. Men, we don't shave our legs. We have chest hair. But yeah, that's the whole lifestyle of the mullet.
Armchair.
Big news and the big games covered in the Big Ten by the Armchair Quarterbacks all year long.
Averaging just under 38 on 44 kicks this year. Nice high kick, got a little wind under it, and it runs Howard back. Look at that. Oh, my goodness. One man. Goodbye. Hello, Heisman. Well, the ball is actually a little short of the 1 yard line now. It is 4th down, the final play, unless they can stick it in the end zone. Andre Johnson, Roscoe Parrish, and Kellen Winslow, and Dorsey under pressure. Throws it! Incomplete. The Buckeyes win. They went to Hickman, and Penn State well-timed blitz. LeVar Arrington, the All-America candidate, came across.
Well, it was a great athletic play by LeVar Arrington. As you see, he times his blitz very well, leaves his feet, and hits Hickman in the backfield.
Big Ten football covered in the Southeast by the Armchair Quarterbacks.
That's the sound of NyQuil Severe hard at work. NyQuil Severe is the best sleep with a cold medicine. No tossing and turning, just rest and recovery. So you're ready to take on tomorrow. For powerful relief of your worst cold and flu symptoms, try NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hi, this is Britney Spears.
What up, this Jay-Z.
This is Jennifer Lopez. Armchair.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong.
I didn't mean to hurt you. Something stupid and something painful. At least I know
Welcome back here to the Armchair Quarterbacks. We got Brooklyn's own Ox on the Roof. They ought to be coming back out and playing here in the next couple of months. We'll keep y'all updated for those of y'all listening in the New York area. Justin, real quick on the scoreboard, because didn't go over it earlier and I meant to. I got sidetracked. The scoreboard from yesterday in college basketball that we were briefly talking about. Michigan, 69-50 winners over Michigan State. Baylor outlasts Oklahoma State 81-70 as Butler had 22 points and 5 assists. Iowa smoked Nebraska. Good Lord. 102-64. West Virginia 76-67 winners over TCU. They're ranked number 6 in the country. And Kansas, as we talked about earlier, beats UTEP barely 67-62. Texas outplays Oklahoma by 4. They went 69-65. Sims with 16 points and 12 boards. Texas Tech 81-54 over Iowa State, and Colorado took out Arizona State 75-61 winners. That's your top 25 action. With that being said, Justin, we have got, and I was a little energized by this morning. Did you know? I'm going to turn that music off. We've got a bunch of conference tournament games going on today. So if you're sitting in your cubicle or if you're sitting at home, there are games going on today. The Atlantic 10 has their conference tournament going on, and it is the third round for them. That is going to begin at 11 a.m. All of these games are on NBC Sports Network. So all these games for the Atlantic 10 beginning at 11 a.m. all the way. The last one starts at 5:30 p.m. Teams like St. Bonaventure are in this conference, UMass, George Mason. That is 11 o'clock in the morning today. So that's Eastern. So You get it rolling early. The Atlantic Sun has their tournament going on today. Missouri Valley Conference starts theirs. Round 2 begins at noon today. And the OVC is in their semifinals. That's at 8 o'clock and 10:30 tonight. You got the Southern Conference, Sun Belt, the West Coast Conference. All of those teams are in action today and marching towards, these small conferences start these tournaments before the big boys start, so they get some television coverage. So excited to see that. Also, Danny Santana signed with the Boston Red Sox yesterday. For people who aren't familiar with him, because he's Texas Ranger, American League guy, he is literally the utility knife that everybody looks for to sit on their bench. This guy has played every single position in Major League Baseball except pitcher and catcher. So has decent speed. He had a really good season about 2 or 3 years ago. I remember I had him on a fantasy team, could not believe how good he was doing. And because of that, I got suckered the next year grabbing him, and he just, he's realistically a 240-ish to 260-ish hitter with no pop, but he does have decent speed. But the year that I got like lightning in a bottle, he was hitting over 300. So there you have what's happening today. Are you likely to catch any of that college basketball action, or are you more likely to stick with MLB TV today?
I'll probably check out some basketball. I think the Pirates is the only day game that I get today. And after watching yesterday's, I just don't, or whatever day it was this week, I watched the Pirates broadcast. I think I can skip that, buddy. I'm done.
Well, not only are first of all, Bob Walk is their color commentator, and for people who don't remember him, he was a part of the Pirates the last time I consider them having glory days. I know they made the playoffs a little bit this past decade, but when I think of Pirates baseball and their glory days, I think of when Sid slid, the 2 consecutive years when they made it to the NLCS and probably should have got at least one of those to get to the World Series. So Bob Walk was their guy. He was their bull. And so I understand why he's on their broadcast team. But man, I'm with you, dude. That's brutal. That is totally brutal. I can't listen to it. He's kind of a downer. Like everything he talked about. And then not what pissed me off when I sent it to you, I'm assuming this happened on your end. I missed a half inning of the game because I don't know, some kind of technical difficulties. They flashed up and said, "We're going to commercial break. We'll be right back." I'm like, "We're not at commercial break. There was one out." And by the time that they come back, they were walking off the field. So there was some kind of technical difficulties. And so that kind of ticked me off. And man, I know it's spring training, but
I'll tell you, Tigers at Yankees will be on as well.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm on the 4th. Okay.
I don't know why it does that. It always preloads the day before. It's the silliest thing I've seen when you pull it up.
Yeah, it is pretty stupid. I guess they're trying to get you to watch reruns. There's several games on MLB.TV today. Now, the 1 o'clocks, you're right. There's just the Yes Network and NBC Sports. Pirates, Phillies, Yankees, Tigers. It really depends on if it's a good pitching matchup, if I would watch that. And then you got several games at 3 o'clock. And then you got the Diamondbacks and Reds at 8. By then, I'll probably be locked into college basketball because the Sun was it the OVC is at their semifinal. So I'll probably be scrolling around that area to try to get an idea of. I like it better when I catch these conferences, although I'll probably put the Atlantic 10 on today at 11 a.m. because it's the first game. I like it better when they're closer, right? Because like the Atlantic 10 right now, we're talking about there's still 8 teams left. When you get to like the semifinals and the finals, that's when I love watching those smaller conferences go. But anyways, transitioning off of that, let's go in back to the National Football League, because we've got, in my estimation, 3 guys that are most likely going to be traded, or at least there's a high chance of them being traded because it's being talked about too much for at least not one of them to be traded. And that's how we'll start off with our Football Friday. Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, and Sam Darnold. Those are the three names that have been rumored about. I think it's almost a given that they're going to find a place for Watson. Do you think Wilson and Darnold will both be traded? Do you think one will? Do you think none will? What say you?
I could honestly say that it makes sense with the right partner to trade Russell Wilson. If you're talking to someone like the Cowboys and you're swapping for a Dak Prescott, who they look like they might not re-sign, and that might be a perfect pairing. Now, if you've got some Hollywood scenario like that where it could work out, where you could get younger as the Seahawks and have a guy that was doing at Russell's age is probably a little bit farther along than Russell was at that point. Maybe you bring him out there. I would upgrade Russell Wilson to a Dak Prescott, wouldn't you?
Man, it's so tough because
that's the only way I see him move. I don't see any other scenario. And if I'm Russell, I understand what he's upset about. He's taking a lot of hits. It doesn't seem like they've bolstered up the line. They haven't gotten in protection. And you look at the conference he's in, those defenses are stacked. I get his unhappiness, but I think this is a ploy to kind of redirect some personnel and build him a moat, per se, to kind of slow dudes down from getting to him when he snaps that football.
Well, first of all, you better be right, because you're trading away the guy that brought the Super Bowl ring to your franchise. He's also taking you to another one, and if it wasn't for a stupid call by your coach, you would have 2 Super Bowl rings because of Russell Wilson. And it's also hard to ask me that question because he's one of my favorite players to watch. So I'm very biased when I say I wouldn't trade him. But if he absolutely wants to be out of there, that's not a bad swap at all.
I don't see it happening any other way. I don't know that I don't know if the Texans could pull that off. I don't know if,
I think I would.
Is that something they would be interested? Would you rather have Watson or a Prescott?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. You know what you're going to have to pay Watson, and you've got him in a contract, right? Man, I don't know what the hell Dak Prescott's going to want now, because if Russell Wilson's contract's here and Deshaun Watson's contract's here, I think Dak Prescott, if you got Watson and you have Wilson's contracts like this, I think Dak's is only going to get higher. So I think I would rather have Deshaun Watson, to be honest with you.
There's no way that would happen. I mean, Russell Wilson has a no trade clause. He's not going to put himself up to go to Houston. That's not going to happen. Dallas is one of the teams he would mention that possibly would go to. I think it was Saints, Dallas, Bears, and
what if you got a 3-way
Raiders
somehow? What if you got a 3-way deal? Watson goes to Seattle, Wilson goes to Miami, and Tua goes to Houston, because Tua doesn't have any power in the situation. Now that would be fun. Watch Russell Wilson in Miami, Deshaun Watson in Seattle, and then just watch Tua get crushed.
I like it. I just don't know what partner you're going to get to pull that off. I think the only way you're going to see Wilson move is probably a Cowboys trade. I don't see another scenario. I know Mayock and Gruden are saying that they all stand behind Derek Carr. I don't know that he would do that move. That one I think would make sense. I mean, to swap conferences and slide over. I think Russell Wilson would be exciting at the fan in me would like to see that. I want to see that division add Russell Wilson.
Oh, you get Russell Wilson versus Pat Mahomes, and then you already have Justin Herbert in there
twice a year.
Oh, that's a big old fat sorry dude to Bronco fans, but man, that would be fun.
Well, they haven't drafted yet. This could be interesting.
Now, what I don't like about that is that's one less chance of making the playoffs, because now you're going to have to really hone in on the division, Tennessee. I'm sorry, but it's going to get really difficult to hit the wild card lottery. It's interesting. That's the one I would like to see. I'd like to see the three-way trade of Seattle, Miami, and Houston, and they just basically swap everybody. And somehow Houston, they would get Tua, which they get the raw end of the deal, but maybe they get some draft picks in compensation for it.
I don't understand the Watson not winding up in the Jets. If that's a team he said he was willing to go to, then I'm trying to get all the bang for my buck and work out some sort of trade on that.
I mean that's exactly where I would want to go.
That's a no-brainer if you're
Give me Sam
quit
Darnold.
doing this, sticking my feet in. You have a head coach that nobody knows who he is, unless you're a Baltimore Raven fan. And what is your game plan here? You're going to force a guy that doesn't want to play for you to stay on your roster and strong arm it. That is a great first impression way to change your philosophy down there. You're never going to get these veteran with this salary cap adjustment. There's going to be a lot of veteran moves made this offseason, and you're not making Houston a desirable destination for any free agent out there.
If I'm Houston, give me Sam Darnold and give me your number 2 pick overall, and let's roll. And I'll take my chances. You get a franchise quarterback, a generational type quarterback, and I get a project that may or may not work out, but I do get the number 2 overall pick. And if it does not work out, then guess what? I can draft me a quarterback.
You can replace DeAndre Hopkins and essentially, I'm not going to say you can wipe away Bill O'Brien, but you can come pretty dab blame close.
Yeah, I'd be all for it, because you never know what a new coaching staff, a new scene could do for someone like him. So yeah, I would be all for that. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on from that. And let's get into the National League East, as we've got predictions for 2021. We're going to kind of lay them out, go 5-1. We'll go back and forth, and kind of lay out your reasonings for it. Who do you have in the cellar of the National League East?
I'm sticking the Phillies down there. They made the playoffs since 2011. Girardi didn't do it last year. They've got this all-star lineup stacked offensively, and they just don't have the arms to bolster it. I've never thought that, paying your mega superstar and doing all these things and tying up your roster and limiting what you can do flexibility wise in the front office. I've always thought that really hinders you. And I think it's going to hinder this team again, because when it starts getting into the attrition of the 162 schedule, I don't think they have the depth to sustain and be able to pull out W's when they have to win some of these games where they're not fielding their best roster, best lineup out there. They're not going to be in the contention to get them.
I'm going to put Miami in there, because we can't both pick Philly in there, because if we do and then we're wrong, we're going to look terrible. So I'll go and put Miami in there. I could be talked into Philly, but Miami got hot and found their way into the playoffs last year. Now we're back to a 162 game season, and I just think through attrition, Miami's going to find some bumps and bruises. The biggest thing that concerns about Miami is their bullpen. It's mediocre at best, and they've got a lot of young kids. I like Alcantara. I love Sixto Sanchez, Hernandez, Pablo Lopez. They've got some good young talent. Most of these kids aren't even near 30 years old. Most of them are around 25 or under, but their 4 and 5 spot in their rotation, I think, is going to spell a lot of losses, which is going to put a lot of pressure on the 1, 2, 3 guys. And as far as the offense goes, they're going to scratch their way out. I just don't think they're going to score enough runs consistently to stay out of the cellar. So that takes me to the number 4 team. I will put Philadelphia in there, because Philadelphia, to me, it was a little bit of I won't say disappointing, but I had higher hopes for Philly during the offseason. I thought they would address their bullpen better. You know, they did add some guys, but when you look at the bullpen, if I look at the Philly bullpen right now, I'm pulling it up right now.
Velasquez is the only one I can think of off the top of my head. You're going to have to tell me who else is in it.
Archie Bradley is now their closer. He signed it in the offseason. But Hector Neris, I've never been impressed by him. You got Jose Alvarado, Sam Coonrod, Brogdon, Romero, Hale, Rosso, Suarez. Who did you say?
I thought Velasquez was on that roster, but I guess he's not.
He is considered in their starting rotation, but he probably will end up in their bullpen. Or, hell, he might get DFA'd. You know, he is going to be 29 years old this year. So Nola, Wheeler, Eflin, those are the three guys at the top of the rotation. And then after that, it's a crapshoot.
But is that a top three rotation in this division? The lineups that they're going with, aside from Nola, I mean, Wheeler and Eflin's a big step off from that.
Oh yeah, it is.
I don't feel like you have any of the other elite teams, big three, and I'll even put, and that's why Miami is going to be my number 4 since we're flip flopping. I think their younger talent is better than their top three.
The only reason why I've got Philly over Miami is because I think Philly's going to score a lot of runs.
Well, Miami added thumper Adam Duvall, so
I'll tell you what concerns you is right now their number 4 slotted for the Phillies is Matt Moore.
Ooh. That's why they got Velasquez listed as a starter.
Matt Moore is 32 years old this year. Matt Moore never lived up to what he was supposed to be when he was in Texas, when he was in San Francisco. I feel like he made a couple other stops. He's probably going to be in their damn bullpen, to be honest with you. So Chase Anderson might be their number 4. Maybe Velasquez is their 5. They've got Spencer Howard penciled in, but he's a young kid, and they might send him back down to the minors. It's their offense is what has me saying the Phillies can win some games. But it's really because you took the Marlins to be 4. I took the Marlins to be 5. Because if for some reason Philly figures it out, I don't want us both to have them in the cellar as they're having their World Series parade. Real Multo, Reese Hoskins. Of course, you got Bryce Harper, Segura. The only thing that I see is what I consider a hole in their lineup is Scott Kingery, their center fielder down at the 8 hole. But Alec Boehm should have a great year again this year.
Did they re-sign Gregorius?
Didi Gregorius is back. McCutchen is back from his injury. This team's got a lot of runs.
Oh yeah, they've got the offense. There's no doubt about that. But I don't know that they're going to be night in, night out, hanging 13 on the board. And I feel like they're going to need that with those arms they're going to throw out there. They're going to need to score touchdowns nightly.
So that takes us to the top 3, and we'll just rattle them off because we're going to run out of time here. How do you have 3-2-1 in the NL East?
Mets, Nationals, Braves.
So you got Mets 3rd, Nationals.
I could see where you could. Yeah, just because I think you're going to go 2-3. So another thing, I just don't want us to look like idiots. Man, I just don't believe the Mets hype. I mean, I know you had Carlos Carrasco to come behind DeGrom, and that's a good one too, but you don't know when or how Syndergaard's going to come back. And, I mean, Lindor, Alonso, and then who's next? McNeil. I mean, where are we going with the murderer's row of the Mets that everybody keeps telling us that they have? I mean, I don't feel like this is the St. Louis Cardinals of the Murderer Rose days. But yet that's how they're being treated and being projected. Like they've got 5 Cy Youngs winners that are going to come out there and pitch daily, and everybody on the lineup top to bottom is going to hit the long ball. I don't think it's foregone conclusion they walk away with this thing. And we got to see Carlos Carrasco go through a whole season. I think he's an incredible talent, and I think it's a great story, but we're just giving it that he's going to come back and return and be in top-notch form for an entire full season.
I'm going to go third in the division will be the Nationals. Second will be the Mets, and I am going to go with the Braves. Ride or die with them. It's not just because we're Braves fans. They've won their division 3 years in a row.
3 in a row, and they're bringing back essentially the same roster. They've added Charlie Morton. I mean, they've improved.
The only question, so the biggest question mark with the Braves would be the bullpen, right?
Correct.
Especially the back end. We don't know how we're going to get our closes. But I do believe that if they're in it, if they fight their way through it, they're going to make a move at the deadline to get a closer in there. So there's that. And they do have some young talent on that roster that I believe is going to mature this year in their bullpen that they'll be able to use. I still don't know if we have an actual closer on our team, but
Snit showed us last year when he went through all these injuries that he can manage the roster. I've backed off Snit a little bit. He did a phenomenal job getting the most out of what he had out there. And
as long as it's not Luke Jackson, I have faith.
Yeah.
But when I look at Washington's offense, I have the same questions about Washington's offense as you do with the Mets offense, because Kyle Schwarber is your left fielder. That's great.
Hey, did you see him gun a dude out at the plate 2 days ago? My man actually played some defense, made a throw on a rope, and made a play at the plate. I was highly impressed that he left David Ross and figured out how to play left field.
I still think Kyle Schwarber he's living off of his 2016 postseason hype. And I don't have, what did he hit last year? He hit 220. His slugging percentage was 317. That's pretty piss poor, if you ask me. And granted, he's had some decent years. He's had some down years, but I think he's a big question mark out there in left field. And then the rest of the team, Victor Robles, Juan Soto is elite, but you put him aside, Ryan Zimmerman's not Ryan Zimmerman. They did add Josh Bell, but I think the Mets have a better rotation in the Nationals offense and the Mets offense are like this. You could convince me one was better than the other, and right. I would not argue. Outside, you give me, before you do your walk off, you're already saying that the biggest question mark with the Braves is the bullpen. What's your biggest question mark with the Mets and Nationals?
My biggest question with the Mets is going to be the rotation. Do they get Syndergaard back? Is Carrasco fully healthy? I mean, we assume he is, but let's see 3-4 months into a season, once he's got some inning count or pitch counts racked up and some inning counts, and we see how deep he's gone. How's he struggled? What happens to his control? How does he mentally bounce back from that? So their pitching is going to be the thing. And with all the pitchers that are in the AL East, I still question their bats. I just don't think it's as pop heavy as a lot of analysts are giving it credit for. For the Nationals, same as you, it's their lineup. I have no doubt in Scherzer and Strasburg, and I think they'll piece together 3, 4, and 5. They've shown that they can do it, but how are they night in and night out going to score runs against these rotations they're going to be facing day in and day out?
My biggest concern with the Nationals is the front part of their bullpen. I think they've got a decent closer in Hudson, and I like Brad Hand. The rest of their bullpen is just an absolute question mark. With the Mets, it is. I am a little concerned. How are they going to score consistently? But I do think that they made some additions like Pilar, that the little minor additions. Also, I believe that going down the stretch, we get into late July, that new owner with the bottomless pocket, he'll make any damn move that he needs to make if he thinks the Mets are in it. That's going to be the key, though. If the Mets aren't in it in late July, then all's off the table. But I think the Mets will hang around. I don't think anyone's running away with this division. What's your walk-off for the day, sir?
It's really just to motivate my Tennessee Volunteers. Need this W this weekend. It's been a lackluster basketball season, and I just want to make mention, I don't know if you caught it or not, and I'll get you the video so you can post it, but Tennessee Volunteer baseball team having some expense of their own. Did you see the home run celebration over the weekend is in the last week or over
No,
the
I
last
didn't.
week. Hitting dingers now and celebrating with McDonald's bags. We're even taking hits of our own and trolling Jeremy Pruitt. So I'm curious to see what the NCAA says about that. I don't think it's going to be really liked that we're internally trolling ourselves with money bags as home run props. But hey, man, if that's what it takes to get you motivated, Rick Barnes, I want McDonald's bags under everybody's chair tomorrow or Sunday.
That's hilarious. All right, brother. We'll see you Monday. Have a great weekend.
You too, gentlemen.
We'll be back in a flash on the Armchair Quarterbacks, and Matt Carr's with us. Keep it locked in here on CBS Sports Radio and YouTube Live.
What's a show or movie scene that would get canceled in 2021?
Hello, Mr. Burgundy.
Oh, black. You're black.
Jesus, just stop, Ron.
I'm terribly sorry. I don't know why I can't stop saying black. The word black.
Hello, Mr. Burgundy.
Black.
Stop.
Black.
Stop saying black.
Black. If I don't say it, I'll pass out.
Armchair.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Big Ben Roethlisberger is officially back with the Pittsburgh Steelers for the 2021 NFL season, the team announced on Thursday. The Steelers did not disclose the terms, but a source has leaked that Roethlisberger willingly reduced his pay to $14 million from $19 million in his final year of his contract and spread the cash payments through 2022. The move lowers the team's salary cap hit by more than $15 million. Roethlisberger, who turned 39 earlier this week, threw 33 touchdowns, 10 interceptions last season, his first after major elbow surgery following a season-ending injury in Week 2 of 2019. Villanova guard Colin Gillespie has suffered a torn MCL in his left knee and is expected to miss the rest of the men's basketball season, they announced on Thursday. Gillespie left Wednesday's game against Creighton with 6 minutes left in the first half after landing awkwardly and immediately grabbing his left leg. An MRI on Thursday confirmed the MCL tear. Atlanta Braves pitcher Max Fried won't make his first scheduled start of spring training because of a potential exposure to someone with COVID-19. Braves manager Brian Snitker said Thursday that Fried hasn't tested positive for the virus, but the team is taking no chances. The left-hander had been scheduled to start Friday against the Minnesota Twins. Quote, "We're laying him low for a couple of days," Snitker said. Fried was a 17-game winner in 2019, went 7-0 with a 2.25 ERA last season, and finished 5th in the NL Cy Young balloting. MLB.com reported that Boston has agreed with free agent infield outfielder Danny Santana on a minor league deal that includes an invite to spring training. It remains to be seen when Santana will be ready for action, as he underwent a right UCL repair and augmentation with an internal brace back on September 9th. Santana signed a one-year, $1.75 million deal plus incentives. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for more of the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show and YouTube Live. Please like, subscribe, and share our show today. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk, live from the First Coast.
It all starts with just one thing. When recycling, rinse out jars and cans, and avoid recycling wax paper or paper soiled with food. This will reduce recycling contamination. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
I'm Amy Lawrence, and I'm up late, always, after hours, hanging out with you on CBS Sports Radio. Check it out, 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Pacific.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
It's like people only do things because they get paid, and that's just really sad.
Look, you can stay here in the big leagues and play by the rules, or you can go back to the farm club and roar. It's your choice.
Yes, and it's the choice of a new generation.
I've been bamboozled. Left for dead. I've been plagued by I've been hoodwinked. I've been bamboozled.
Good morning. Welcome back here to the Armchair Quarterbacks, CBS Sports Radio. And Mr. Matt Carr is back with us today. Sir, how the hell are you today?
Doing good, man. Good to be back. It's been a long February.
It has been a long February. February sucks, man. I'll tell you what. This might become a regular thing where I just take the month of February off because it was kind of nice to get away from the world of sports. You know, I still kept in tune with the news and everything, but I didn't watch a whole lot. I watched some Florida State basketball, and that was about it. The NBA, I've lost a lot of interest, especially when the Celtics went on that slide. Now they're on a 4-game winning streak as they hit the All-Star break. And I did find one thing interesting this morning that is trending on CBS's filter. Well, first of all, Creighton has suspended Greg McDermott, their head coach, after using the plantation comment that we talked about earlier in the week. We won't rehash that, but they have suspended him. But he's only been suspended through Sunday's regular season finale. So realistically, not just a slap on the wrist. I did see that he offered to resign. That just tells me that McDermott wants to coach somewhere other than Creighton. But the other thing that's trending is the number 2 trending thing on the top of CBS Sports Radio that I think you'll get interested in. Celtics looking to be active this weekend over before the trading deadline. What say you on that front?
I mean, this is what we hear every single year. This is what me and you talk about every single year. We need a big man. We know what we need. Ainge is not going to go after a big man. He's going to go after try to get Bradley Beal. I have a feeling, which I don't know if he plays well with others. I don't know how that works. I know he's a very good player, but we need a big for the playoffs.
Here's an interesting one that they're talking about that's trending. There's 2 young stars they're talking about that they could be targeting. A is Jeremy Grant.
Yeah.
The other one is Nikola Vucevic of the Orlando Magic. That's the one I would love to see.
Yeah, Grant's good, man. Grant's came every year he's played. He's gotten better and better and better. He's just proven it more where he's at now. But yeah, Jokovic, man, or the Orlando Center. That would be. I mean, that would be my pick of those 3. Honestly, I mean, I don't think we'd have to give up the farm for him. Honestly,
and Vucevic will pay him a combined $46 million for the rest of. God, is that, man? They'll probably have to give up a haul to get him. He's only owed $46 million finishing out this year and the end in next year and the year after. And I know that sounds like a lot of money to most people, but in NBA ranks, that's very, very affordable. Right. That's the one that I would like to see them do.
That's what we need the most. I mean, it's an all-star.
Yeah, I don't want to see a freaking another score. You don't need that. You need a big. You need someone who's going to be some kind of a presence down there.
I didn't know this about Robert Williams. That's one of my favorite players on the Celtics team. Has been the last 2 years, and I've been wondering why he don't get any minutes. I didn't realize he had health issues that limits him to only like 20 minutes a game.
It's saying here that the Celtics are $19 million under the cap right now, so they would be able to absorb this year, and they would only have to do a couple of moves to make sure that someone like a Vucevic, or if they ended up with Jeremy Grant, I'd be a little surprised if Detroit traded Jeremy Grant. It's more of Orlando's MO to trade their young rising stars because they just don't re-sign anybody.
Right. And Grant just went to Detroit. I mean, and he's been showing out there, which he knew he's going to get paid eventually, but I hope it's just not with the Celtics right now.
I think that Danny Ainge should give them whatever the hell they want. whatever they want. And they said that one of the things that's going to make either one of those deals very affordable for the Celtics is when they did the sign and trade with Gordon Hayward.
Right.
It basically allowed some maneuvering when it comes to the salary cap space.
Knowing Ainge, man, we're going to trade probably somebody for some draft picks. That's his big plan for All-Star Weekend. So we're going to have about 4 more draft picks going into next year.
Grant is 26 years old. I don't see how old Vucevic is. They don't have that listed on here, but
I would say a couple of years older. I would say 28, 29.
That would be my guess because he came here for. Ooh, actually, he'll be 31 this year. He's 30 right now, so he won't be 31 till next season. So long term, you build with Grant. But if you're trying to make a real run here in the next couple of years, I say you go Vucevic.
Well, Ainge said he's not trying to put a Band-Aid on the season. So, I mean, we'll see what he does. I'm sick of saying in Danny we trust. Though.
Danny Ainge has got to at some point have his feet held to the fire is my point. I just feel like he's allowed to do whatever the hell he wanted to because he rode the coattails of Larry Bird 30-something years ago to a championship.
I think he's getting all this. He got a championship in 2008. He got that championship. He made that big trade with Brooklyn. He got all those draft picks. He got Tatum. So his track record is not terrible, but it's just he's not doing anything right now.
It's 13 years ago.
I know.
For the Celtics, this isn't 13 years ago, and you're the Sacramento Kings. That guy could ride that out for 40 years. 13 years ago. You're the Celtics.
I mean, but you think 08, I mean, when we won in 08, that was the first time we had won since 86? So I mean,
well, we're trending that same timeline again.
That's what I'm saying.
The only difference is that now the team's very competitive. And from we'll say 92-ish to the early 2000s, they were just not they were a terrible team.
It was rough.
The early mid 2000s, they had a couple of decent playoff runs, but then they went right back to sucking. So we'll say out of an 18-year span, they sucked for 14 to 16 of those years, depending on how you want to define it. There was only a couple of runs, like it was at 02 or whatever, that they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Nets. And they had the
when people called me out, they said I was a bandwagon fan for locking the Celtics. I was like, you don't know the years I went through, man. You wasn't with me in those years for the Kevin Bagleys and John Bagleys and all that.
Sherman Kevin Douglas Gamble. Is a god. You leave him alone.
Sherman Douglases of the world.
Yeah, I went through years without watching regular season basketball because I've only ever watched regular season Celtics. I don't watch anyone else.
Right.
I don't care about it because we've talked about this. The regular season's boring. Every once in a while, you can get me jazzed up to watch a regular season game.
Right.
Christmas Day, if there's a really good matchup and they're all going to play. But once they started that whole load management, as they call it,
which has been better this year.
It has, but it's still a load of BS.
Oh, 100%.
That's what lost my interest. So nowadays I check the TNT schedule and the ESPN schedule every week to see if the Celtics are on. And then other than that, I get my NBA by seeing highlights and reading about it. I read more NBA than I watch. I get excited when the playoffs come. I'll be excited again this year, especially because it doesn't look like they're going to lean into all that junk that they leaned into last year. But if the Celtics are going to get dipped out in the Eastern Conference semifinals,
we're playing Milwaukee right now, first round. We might not make it past the first round with the team we have.
If the Celtics get knocked out in the first round, man, I'm going to lose a lot of interest really quick.
Right.
It'll be catch me at the. I'll catch you at the Eastern Conference Finals and the Western Conference Finals, maybe depending on the matchup. The matchup's terrible because I'll tell you right now, if we end up with Lakers Nets for the championship, I have no interest in watching that because I can't stand either one of them because I hate Kyrie and I hate LeBron. I'm not a big James Harden fan. I used to be, but he's kind of come off as a jerk off these last few years. The only guy in that entire any of those rosters that I actually like as a person is Kevin Durant. That's it. And that's not enough for me to watch. I might root for Brooklyn to beat LeBron just so that the Lakers don't get one more championship up over the Celtics, but that's not enough to watch it.
Right. You just don't want to see Brooklyn score for 3 or 4 games.
Right. It's just like with the NHL playoffs, man, I lost a lot of interest this year because the Predators are terrible. Yeah. Absolutely terrible. Now, when the playoffs start, if the Islanders find their way in, I'll pull for them. Other than that, that is a sport too. That, man, if it's not my team, I do not care.
100%. Like when the Preds were in the hunt the last like 2 or 3 years ago, that was the best playoff hockey the most I've ever watched. Like we would have like gatherings to watch the Preds play, and if they're not in it, I'm not doing that any other team.
By the way, that thing that you got around your neck, the scarf that you pull up. So I finally bought one of those the other day because I decided I'm gonna start going back to the gym. I'm like, those are going to be more useful than wearing the mask, right? So the first time I tried it out, I went to the grocery store. Man, that damn thing kept falling off. Is there a trick to it?
I just, heck, man, I don't know. This is what I've been. I wore the mask for like about 2 weeks.
How high do you wear it up?
Huh?
How high do you wear that neck thing up when you wear it?
Over my nose.
You don't wear it over your ears. You don't know where it's underneath your ears. Okay, maybe that's where I was going wrong. But I'll tell you what, when I pull it down, like yours, it's very obvious what yours is. Us fat kids, man, it looked like a freaking choke chain.
90s, man. That was the 90s.
That's all I was missing was a disc hanging on my lip or something. I was like, God, it was comfortable, but I got in the truck and looked at it and go, man, my God.
No, they're just saying, like, I don't wear them at work until customers come in. So like when they come in, I can just throw it up.
Right.
Which, I mean, nobody wears masks anymore up here. It feels like they come in, they don't give it. In Tennessee, don't care.
Where do you get yours at?
I got it online. I'll send you the link I got it to.
Okay.
It was funny because I got like buy 4, get 1 surprise mystery one free, and you got to pick your 4, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I get them in the mail, and the 5th one was a white one. That was the mystery one.
Which would be the worst to have because I'm sure that gets dirty extremely quickly.
So, I mean, I'll send you a link, or I'll send you where I get it. It's pretty cool. I mean, I need to get some more actually. But
I found the Guy Harvey ones. They were actually on sale because I think they know that Florida's about to get rid of the restrictions. I still think I'm going to wear mine from time to time, especially if I go to the grocery store and whatnot. Just so that I'm not bugging out the old people. That's my only reasoning. I don't want to bug out the old person. We're running around getting their groceries because I'm over there, and this is allergy season too. Me coughing up a lung, and someone thinks, "Oh God, what has he just coughed on me?" Right? So
COVID-20.
Exactly. There's a really funny TikTok guy that does Florida TikToks about COVID. Have you run across this guy?
I'm not.
He is funny. I'll have to try to send it to you, but he's always coming across as he's Florida, and then he does all the characters, but then he'll have him talking to COVID, and then COVID getting pissed off, and then and then he'll bring other states into the mix. And the most recent one was Texas and Mississippi coming over, becoming Florida's friend because man, has air always smelled this good? Because man, I've been trying to tell you, player. Because man, we did that for like a month, and then we said, "Hell, man, what you gonna do to us?" and he's got COVID walking off because, "Oh man, would you leave these people alone?" And George is like, "What's going on?" He goes, "Man, don't you worry about what they're talking about. You go back in over there." NBA All-Star Game. Any plans on watching any of it?
I'm not gonna. So the NBA All-Star Weekend was my favorite weekend in All-Star sports.
Really?
Even like Ashley, we would get down, get ready for the dunk contest, get ready for the 3-point contest. That's going to be the lamest thing ever, not just in sports.
So they're doing it at halftime this year, right?
It's all in one day. I'll know that. That's all I know.
They're doing one of them at halftime. I think it's the dunk competition, so maybe the 3-point is going to be before it. They lost any chance of getting me to watch any of it now. Because
Right.
if it was Saturday night like it normally is, and I get why they're doing it the way they're doing it, but I might have watched a little bit of it. I'm more likely to watch the 3-point championship than the dunk, because the dunk has sucked for, I don't know, it's ain't been that long, but I'll say the last 25 years.
Nah, man, dunk contest has been good the last couple of years with Levine and Gordon. It's been good.
Man, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to watch it. I need the stars of the sport to be in it.
I get it.
And you know what? I'll give you an example. What if you had a bunch of guys that you knew hit a lot of batting practice home runs, but in the regular season they were doing nothing, and you put those guys into the home run derby?
Right.
It falls flat, and that's what the slam dunk championship has fallen flat for me. Now, I know LeBron's older now, but he never went into the slam dunk championship.
And that's like Jaw said he would. I guess he'll never do it. I guess Zion will never do it now. Just following suit with that, I would assume too.
And so my point is, if it's not a star doing it, it loses it for me.
And I understand your point on that, but the last 2 years with Levine and Gordon going against it, those are some of the best dunks they were very impressive dunk contests.
There's always like some rando from the Atlanta Hawks coming out there, and he'll have a nice little dunk. You're like, who the hell is this guy?
And he's averaging like 7 minutes a game, 2.3 points.
Right.
Yeah.
And so anyone can become proficient in that if they train all year long. But to me, it'd be like saying, well, we're not going to have McGuire and we're not going to have Sosa or Bonds in the home run derby, but we will put Ichiro in there because, and it's like, oh, seriously? Well, he's really good in the home runs. And yeah, but he's got like 3 this year. And so that's what it always feels like to me. My favorite event of any all-star game is the home run derby. That's the best stuff to me. The best game is still Major League Baseball's game. But I used to love the 3-point championship. The 3-point championships take an even a bigger dive because those guys are never any big names. Most of the guys that do that, you don't get the Steph Currys very often. You get some random schmo from the, Sacramento Kings that if he's not being guarded, he can shoot lights out, but you put one hand in his face, and that's why he's not on the court.
Now the last best 3-point contest I remember, I think it was Clay and Steph in it together. That was fun to watch. But you're right. I mean, it's every other year is something somewhat to watch. But NBA All-Star game.
I think the last one I remember watching was when Blake Griffin jumped over the car, and that's been a while.
That's been a while.
It's been about 5 years, I think. But that was the last one that I really remember. And I only caught that because I was at work that night and it was on. I was like, oh, now that is pretty cool. But I think the problem with the slam dunk championship is, man, you've ran out of stuff. There's only so much you can do.
I know. I get it.
After doing it for 40 something years, it's like, dude, how many times, can you dunk from the free throw line and everyone go, ooh, ah? It's just like, and then.
But that's my point this year. There's not gonna be oohs or ahs. There's nobody in the fans. It's gonna be boring.
And now they can see, and the worst thing that they do is they show highlights from previous dunk contests right before it starts.
Like all the good dunks.
Yeah, and so everything that you see that night just pales in a comparison. Let's show you how Dominique and Michael Jordan used to do it, and then you're like, oh God, now we got to watch this bozo go over here clank it off the board. And Dominique is, for people who don't really remember it or know what happened, Dominique not only was as good at a dunker as Michael Jordan, he was a big time named all-star doing it versus Michael Jordan. So that's well, I think we're going to watch a movie that night. And now Tony's telling me that you can see Coming to America 2 on Amazon or something. I think that's what we'll end up doing Sunday night. March Madness is coming in. We get the news that the NIT is going to be a 16 team tournament this time instead of the 32. So you and I are going to have to do a bracket. I mean, that's all.
It's been 10 years.
Yeah.
It's been longer than that.
We did one in the last 5 to 10 years, but I don't remember when it was, and I don't think either one of us paid attention to it.
Well, we haven't did one where we were both on the clock.
Right. We did one since I started this show, but I don't think we kept up with it.
All right, we'll do what we used to do. Just go 1 and 1 and 1.
Where's Francis? Can he come busting into the office and it's yours. It's yours. Our
1,000%.
Our boss of boss walks in on Matt and I about 15, 20 years ago, filling out, of all things, NIT brackets. And he and I look like Costanza and Seinfeld slapping. It's yours. It's yours. What are y'all doing? Oh, we're working on the schedule.
These hot schedules.
Duquesne versus UMass. What the hell am I looking at here?
Yeah, he came from over from Chili's. We're just trying to get him a schedule.
Right. When March Madness hits, if North Carolina does get knocked out early, is there another team that has your interests, or are you just gonna be pulling?
So honestly, when you sent me that message yesterday, I was like, I can't believe UNC's in the tournament. First of all, so I had to start doing some research. But I'm always gonna watch UT basketball. I've always liked UT basketball. I'm gonna be following Baylor. And then the locals, Belmont and WKU, I'll be following them. I mean, they're higher seeds, but they're also that seed that's like a 12 and 13 seed right now that can kind of make some noise. But I mean, Baylor's going to be my team. I watch every game till the final game.
So I'll be dug in deep on Florida State because we should have a decent chance to make a run. A lot of times outside of that, I normally and watching ACC teams, but the ACC teams, honestly, I think Georgia Tech has a decent chance to make some noise this year, but I'm interested in seeing how well the Big Ten does.
Yeah.
Because they've got them so highly ranked. I'm going to be pulling against the Big Ten this year, essentially, because I don't think it's right when you put 6 or 8 of their teams in the top 3-4 lines, right? And everyone else is fighting to get in there. They do this every year. There's always a conference that they overrate. And I'm curious to see if this year, if it's the Big Ten.
I will be speaking of that, I'll be following some Michigan basketball too.
When they say Michigan's really good and because they beat Illinois, I'm like, yeah, but there's no comparison on who they played out of conference. So it's very difficult. They do the same thing, with the SEC every year where a team with 6 losses goes, they're good, man. They won 3 in the SEC. And you're like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Well, they'd be undefeated anywhere else. And then they play out of conference, get their ass kicked. And you're like, okay, well, there goes that there. Well, that was this year. No, that's every year. But they're doing that in basketball a lot these days. And what I was most upset about, we talked about in the first hour, is that Florida State, if you change the name, if you took Florida State and you put Duke or North Carolina on this, they would be at least a 2 seed. 15-4 overall. If they win tomorrow at Notre Dame, they will win the ACC regular season tournament. And Joe Lunardi has them on the 4 line. And
I won't do my final 4 because we'll do that, I'm sure, in a couple of weeks. But I have FSU going pretty far.
I mean, I hope so. And look, Florida State might get knocked out early, but my point is they've earned the right to not have to face certain teams until the 3rd round, and that's not what they're setting them up in. It drives me nuts. And I put the comparison to is the fact that if Tennessee had continued to play well, just like Alabama, I think is underrated as a 2 seed. Now, they did have the bad loss against Oklahoma, but whatever. It's 1 game. All in all, Alabama's had a phenomenal year. And why do we have to put 2 teams from the Big Ten as a 1 seed? I think you should only be getting one per conference. I never liked it when they put North Carolina and Duke as 1 seeds because I've always said, look, obviously one's better than the other. How do we know that these other conferences can't compare to them?
Right.
All right. It is time to turn back time and do our walk-off. So let's go ahead and get that going on here. If I can get the man, oh man, oh man, here we go. All right, on this date in 1985, New York Islander Mike Bossy becomes the first to score 50 goals in 8 straight seasons. First one, 8 straight seasons. Also on this date, 1964, Atlanta's mayor, Ivan Allen Jr., claims to have a verbal agreement with the major league team that promises to move to the Peach State if a stadium is ready by next year. The next day, the board approves a $15 million stadium, and the rest is history. The Atlanta Braves come to the Atlanta market in 1966. And so there you have that on this date in sports. And birthdays. This one, oof. That's hard for me to believe. Michael Irvin is 55 years old today. Wow. I thought I misread that first. 55 years old. Happy birthday, Michael Irvin. Still one of the best receivers. I don't think gets the credit when they talk about the greatest of all time. I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves, how good he was for about a 10-year span.
Well, he only won 3 rings.
True. And also on this date, also happy, this one hits me a little harder. Happy 44th birthday to Wally Zerbiak.
Oh, wow.
I feel like it was yesterday that we were talking about Wally Zerbiak in March Madness.
Ohio.
Which, by the way, he is on CBS Sports Network. He does a college basketball show with the rest of the guys, and is actually pretty decent. And he still has that weird Frankenstein haircut that you know that he's always had. But
do you remember he played with the Celtics for a minute?
Yeah, I remember when he was in March Madness. What was that, late?
I mean, 2000s. I mean, early 2000s.
No, man, Wally Zerbiak be the late 90s.
Yeah, I remember in Miami, Ohio. I remember shooting lights out.
I remember at the time he was a heartthrob because when the tournament started, all the chicks that I worked with were like, "Who's this guy?" He still has that weird Frankenstein head. But anyways, happy birthday to him. Happy birthday, Frankenstein. Never thought you'd make it at 44. I thought they would have gotten you through ran you through the village by now. What's your walk off for the day, sir?
So the whole family has had the COVID. We're all better now. We're having a little bit of side effects of it, but nonetheless, we're actually going to spend this weekend and actually go do some stuff in the public eye because Ashley has this whole. We have 90 days of immunity stuff now, so we're actually going to go live our life. So it'll be a pretty good little weekend.
Now, what shirt do you have on, Old Row?
This is my George W. throwing out the first pitch after 9/11.
Gotcha. Can you make out mine?
I could not.
Basically, the female is saying something effective. You never listen to what I'm saying. You don't take, you need to pay attention to me. And then the guy answers back with, well, sure, I'll have a beer.
I like that studio, man. Looks good.
Thank you. My walk off is we had a decent sports weekend, a lot of college basketball. There are hoops all day today as the smaller conference tournaments are going. We talked about Florida State plays at noon tomorrow, and tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern, Duke, North Carolina. Normally it's for seeding and bragging rights. This year, man, that's actually a really big game because the loser, if they lose that game, if Duke loses, they're going to have pretty much going to have to win the ACC tournament to get in, or at least make it to the championship game. But if North Carolina loses and then gets bounced early in the ACC tournament, they might not make the tournament. So it's a big game tomorrow night on Tobacco Road. So watch that. Florida, Tennessee is Sunday afternoon at 1:00 Eastern. Really weird they're playing that on a Sunday. And Florida State, Notre Dame. Hopefully we can get a W and get the ACC title. I want to see Leonard Hamilton get to the Final Four. That's the one thing that he's missing on his resume. And the guy's done a hell of a job at Florida State. He did a great job at Miami. And I would just like to see him rewarded in the next few years. He's 72 years old. He can't do this forever, although he did sign a 5-year deal. And when a 72-year-old guy does sign a 5-year deal, you go, wait a minute, hold on a second. What's that going to do? We sure we want to go 5 on this year?
We will outlast him.
All right, brother. Great job. We will see you next week, and we'll see y'all Monday. Y'all have a great weekend.
Later.
It's Friday, working stiffs. Everybody.
4, 3, 2, 1. Happy weekend!
I've got $100 smoking. Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on these CBS Sports affiliates and catching the show on YouTube Live. We're here weekdays, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. Find Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live today. Please subscribe and share and take us everywhere you go. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for Southern sports talk, live from the First Coast.
Gonna get another cigarette.